Jump off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
Welcome. You are tuned to my weekly talk radio TV show called Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced and get happy with Dr. Marissa every Tuesday at naturally high noon, here broadcasting out of UBN Go Radio in Burbank, California. Obviously here in my living room today because of COVID and keeping safe in Long Beach, California. But wherever I am, I want you to be happy 88% of the time. So that's why this show is about hope and happiness. No gossip, no scandal, and no K words. No Kardashian talk at all. Instead, I want you to focus on your own happiness and how you can be happy 88% of the time. And I have show and guests and topics and all of that to that end. If you've missed any of my past 430 consecutive weeks of shows, get a little applause there. Then go to my YouTube channel. They're mostly housed there. I'm also syndicated on iHeartRadio, on demand, and then every Saturday at 6 p.m. and Monday at 6 p.m. I'm on my CNBC NBC syndicated channel, KCAA, AM 1050, FM 102.3, FM 106.5, and it's the #1 FM station, home to Dave Ramsey and yours truly, the Asian Oprah. And I'm so glad you're here. And I'm so glad you're tuned in because it is time to, I'm talking to myself here. I'm trying to share this feed. It's just going to have to wait. But I am here because it is a fluxed up time. And instead of having my guests that, are on various topics, I have a lot, Marianne from Gilligan's Island, Dr. Michael Bernard Beckwith, Corey Feldman, Marion Ross from Happy Days, all of those beautiful people. Now is the time, though, to use this platform to talk about things that are hitting you right now and hitting all of us right now. And if you missed the very important show on COVID and masks with my interview with Dr. Alia Khan, please do go and watch that on YouTube. That is the definitive science, research, and data to go and listen to that. If you're on the fence, if you've already decided that this is a conspiracy or a government use of control, don't bother watching it. But if you are open to science, then please do watch it. But today's show is a carry-on of something we covered, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, when right after George Floyd was killed. And today's show is actually dedicated to a beautiful friend of ours, Curtis Byrd, who lost his cousin over the weekend from a racist bullet, Dominique Dunn. And so because of that, I said, you know what, I need to, Akuyoe and I had talked about following this topic up of black and white. Is it black and white or is it? And we started a new series on Thursday. And then it's like, this is important enough for my regular show. This is something that we need to take the time and make it regular and have a larger following and platform. So that's why we're doing it today, Tuesday. So let me tell you a little bit about Akuyoe, who you may not have seen our first show. Go to YouTube and get that one. It's an excellent show. This is our part 2 in the series. Akuyoe Graham is an award-winning playwright, actor, and educator who has also dedicated her life to helping youth in the juvenile justice system, realize their spiritual identity. And she's also a very accomplished actress. She has producing credits. She's a brilliant speaker. She's my satellite sister out of Agape International Spiritual Center, where I get my positive roots watered and my peace of mind fertilized. And we're both students and lovers of my big brother, Michael Bernard Beckwith, founder of Agape International Spiritual Center. Please welcome to my studio again, Akuyoe Graham.
Hey. Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction, Dr. M. It's an honor and a privilege to have this time with you. I really look forward to our conversations.
Absolutely, absolutely. So last time we put the moose on the table, which is my Canadian version of the elephant in the room, about, you know, how do you love people who killed George Floyd? Yeah. It was the first time we talked about the whole, you know, racism, and I shed some tears on my own experiences. And that was what, 3 weeks ago? So that was when everything was very fresh, and it seemed like everybody was on board. You know, racism is wrong. We got to end racism. It's not good. And it looked like we were all, most of us were on that, you know, trajectory. Black Lives Matter, you know, record-setting marches all over the world, for the most part, peaceful protests. And, you know, it was getting momentum, and, you know, changes, make sure people who were involved in killing were going to jail, and, you know, looking at the systems, policing systems. And then I don't know when exactly the tide began to turn a little. I would look at the feed and I would see Black Lives, you know, don't say Black Lives Matter, it's All Lives Matter. And not only All Lives Matter, now it's Blue Lives Matter. So it was like many, and then, you know, white privilege, white supremacy, white, you know, then this feeling of either guilt or anger and defensiveness for being white. And then it was, you know, the Black rage or righteous indignation, and white kickback or defense, or how dare you? And so now we're going to get behind the police. Now, that's my interpretation of some of the things that happened. So we're going to talk through all of that. We have, we don't have 2 weeks. We only have this limited time, but I really wanted to get your perspective and speak to kind of what's happened since we talked.
Well, you know, as you said, I think that what we're seeing now is the kickback, those forces, those individuals, groups that feel threatened, and rightfully so, because they know that way of thinking, you know, its days are numbered. So sometimes, you know, it's like crabs in a barrel. If you're trying to get out of it, and America is really looking head on at its institutionalized racism, those that oppose that are going to hang on for dear life. And they are kicking back, you know, strong. And however, we know the end game already, you know, that love wins, love always wins. So what we're now seeing is those other individuals and the forces that propagate those kinds of beliefs, they are going to kick back. You know, they don't want to die out. They don't want their belief systems dying out. They don't want a global world. They're afraid of annihilation, if you will. And yet we know that life is eternal. There's life after life after life. You know, so these feelings of annihilation, these feelings of being destroyed, these feelings of not being good enough, it's coming up, it's rearing its head. So we get to see what we are letting go of. And so for those of us that are clear and have absolutely no doubt that racism has to be stamped out, it has to be eradicated, we must be diligent in staying the course. We must now be more diligent in being bold in our loving, in being bold in our oneness, in being bold in who we are, and hold up our heads and say, no, we're not frightened by this. You know, we're not going anywhere. Love wins.
Yeah. And another reason why I wanted us to do this is because, unfortunately, the ones that are dying and therefore screaming out loud, hopefully is a loud minority. My niece used that term when I was talking to her, where, what's disturbing though is the loud minority makes it seem like it's the majority. Sure. And so I don't know how to lovingly say to someone on Facebook, when they post something that says, Black Lives Matter protesters to blame for spike in coronavirus, or defunding the police will lead to massive violence and no protection. And, we're all going to get now attacked by criminals, or how can you let all these criminals out of jail right now? And so the loud minority seems like a very loud, angry, scary majority. And I don't, outside of unfriending people, how does one, say anything, or how does one react to that?
Well, and you're right. It does seem like, well, they're loud, number one. I mean, look at you and I right now. We're not being loud and behaving in an ugly manner. So it seems that sometimes these forces, these people with their beliefs are very, very loud, and they're in your face, and it really is quite ugly, And so it can seem like, wow, there's so many of them, but there's not. There's more of individuals and organizations and people who recognize this time for what it is, that old ways and old systems must die out, who recognize that this is a reckoning. The chickens have come home to roost, and America and the world is looking at some of its historical decisions that it's made, and the ramifications of those decisions and laws that they've propagated, all along. And so, yes, sometimes it requires that we unfriend them. What my practice, what I try to do, and I have feelings, of anger, I get enraged. And yet when I'm in those moments, I have a practice where I can recognize it, go, okay, I'm in a high state of viscosity, I'm angry, right. and to look and to be with that, not deny it, because denying it just makes it, kind of steep in even stronger. However, if I can be real with myself and say, okay, I'm feeling angry, and just to be with that, rather than acting out from that space, I approach myself with a curiosity. I want to know what this anger is there for. What is it telling me? What is it here to give me? And if someone has done something that I don't like, behavior that I don't like, if I've acted in a way that is out of integrity with my being, with my soul, I pray to be aware of that, to accept that of myself, to be forgiving of myself, and to know that, yeah, okay, I got snagged, I fell, let me get it back up, dust myself off and get back on the love train. Now, the love train isn't some wimpy sort of, oh yeah, I love everything, I love everyone. That's not possible. It's not possible to love everything and everyone. And, certain behaviors, of course, I'm not going to love that. I'm not going to love someone who's just murdered an innocent person. What I can do is to pray for forgiveness of that soul. I can pray that God of my being, the one God that incarnated in, through, and as me, to do the loving and forgiving through me, because I of myself cannot do that. I can't tell you how powerful that is, because again, I see something horrific or something that's clearly coming from a sense of being separate from me or other people. And we know that there's only one, there's one life, there's one race. It's the human race. You know, within that race is all these beautiful dimensions and beautiful diversity. We have Asians and Africans and Peruvians and Europeans, and all of that is so beautiful. You know, and all we're saying is let us value each as we value, you know, whiteness. You know, we've made whiteness the end all and be all of everything, and we're just saying no, 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 no. You know, whiteness too is beautiful, and so is blackness, and so is Asianness. You know, so we're all beautiful,
right?
And let's place the same value on each of the races. That's what that's what this is about. So when someone says, "Well, all lives matter," yes, and all lives includes Black lives.
Yeah.
You know, so why do you have a problem with it? You know, if all lives matter, then why do you have a problem with saying Black Lives Matter?
Right,
you know?
right. And it's really something like I posted something and someone says, well, what about the Native Americans? And it's like, yes, it's absolutely important to recognize that, you know, they kind of, you know, that's why I think that that term of Indian giver is the stupidest term in the world, because like we took the land, you know, coming here, we took the land from them. But it's not that other lives don't matter. But right now, a Black man was choked to death on camera, and he's not the first. And if you haven't seen 13th, the documentary by Ava DuVernay, please watch it. That's my number one action item for anyone who wants to be part of the loud majority that's coming from love and peace. And if you've just tuned in and you're wondering who this beautiful, colorful, I'll include me, the two beautiful, colorful women are today on my show. It is the incredible, wonderful, loving, lovable, and loved, obviously one of my favorite people on the planet, Akuyoe Graham, and you know me, yours truly, Dr. Marissa. And we're here on Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get Happy with Dr. Marissa Day, talking about it's not black or white, or is it? So we're continuing the convo that we started 3 weeks ago. And just to, you know, I'm dedicating the show to two people today. One is Curtis Byrd, who's our amazing and very cute Curtis Byrd. Isn't he? He's beautiful inside out. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we've had a beautiful relationship. Anyways, that's TMI. For many years now, just like just smiling at each other, and I saw his post and my heart just broke. I just exchanged a couple of messages with him, and yes, he will be coming on the show. Wonderful. When he's you know, obviously when he's taken care of the death and his family. He's got numerous things happening right now, and my heart goes out to him. And we love you, Curtis, so much. I'm speaking on behalf of Akuyoe and all my fabulous supporters who are from Agape. I know we all love you and your drum playing for sure. But so let me go back and use a practical application. So Akuyoe, when I heard that Curtis's cousin, Dominique Dunn, was out with some friends, and they were having a good time. And it's not clear from the accounts now whether they were talking and it was okay, and then something happened. But what happened was the suspect in custody now called him an N-word, and only because this is on KCAA on my syndicated channel am I not using the real word, because sometimes we need to use the real word to feel the ugliness of it, but I'm not using it, but called him the N-word. And then when Dominique did not engage and walked away from him was when he went and got his gun and shot 5 bullets, and the second one hit him and he died. And That is so like unbelievable. And that's why I said we got to do this show, because
Yes.
it's worse. Like it is worse. And then what's worse is afterwards, there was no reporting of it, because I'm a broadcast journalist, so I follow and I look. And the first reports were the police, and the pictures of them, most of them were, your traditional white police, with statements saying that right now it was nothing to do with race. And I'm like, what? And then accusing the family members of circulating false information on social media that it was race. And it was like, it's bad enough this is happening. It's bad enough that this happened. And then to have that happen, and then have, eyewitnesses corroborate, and there's still that denial. And then there was protesting, but the protesting is bad because da 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 da. And it's like, is this really?
Yeah. This is what time it is.
You're asking me to love them, and to be. I can't. I was so mad. Akuyoe. Actually, I was reverse of the Kubler-Ross. I was so sad because that morning I found out about that. And that afternoon, a good friend of mine who was my he was the founder of CEO Space International, and loved me, and I loved him. And he died day 12 of COVID, same day of finding out. And I was crying for 3 days, and now I'm mad. So I didn't go the other way, which is usually mad and then sad. I'm so sad, and now I'm mad. How do you, Akuyoe? How can you still love when that happens?
Well, first of all, again, thank goodness you got, mad and sad, because those are beautiful emotions in and of themselves, and you're mad and you're angry because you see an injustice. That's the level of your compassion. You see an injustice and you're like, no. And I'd rather have that than you see and go, oh, well, nothing I can do. You are righteously indignant, and that anger, that energy, look at what you're doing. You're having this show. You reached out to Curtis. You're going to bring him on. You're being proactive with it all. So you are already engaged in acts of love. This is what love would do. Love reaches out. Love says, what can I do? How can I be a better person? How can I facilitate healing? So you are already, you are a lover. And love can't help love. I know. Love can't help loving, and Dr. Marissa, that's who you are. You couldn't stop loving him even if you wanted to. You can't, and thank God for that. That's the level of work you've done. You've done so much work on yourself. You put yourself out there. You are such a bright spirit, in how you give and how generous you are. So again, it's not that you have to love the act. Obviously, no. This young man, first of all, he was called out of his name, and then he was killed. I mean, the other day too, I heard on the news, I think the gentleman was a professor. I'm not going to say any names because I'm not sure. But anyway, he was accosted by a group of white people that tried to lynch him and put him on a tree, and he ran and saved his own life. And so we're seeing these things happening, now, I wonder, are these just now happening, or is it that because we have, phones and videos everywhere, we can now bring it all to the light, and I want to think that we can now bring it all to the light. I tell you, a few years ago, I did a trip around the country, from the West Coast to the East Coast. And we came to a cafe in Oklahoma. And I tell you, everything, it was my husband and I, and I wanted to use the restroom and he wanted to get some coffee. But we walked into this cafe and everything, our intuition told us, get out now. Everything. The proprietor of the cafe was Caucasian, and we were the only Black people there. And it was a strip in the middle of nowhere. And they didn't want to serve us. So I said to my husband, let's go. And I muffled something under my breath. So like, oh, I don't care. I don't need that coffee. My husband was like, be cool. Let's just walk out, But everything in us told us, get in your car and get out of there. So I've never forgotten that experience. Oklahoma, and with all due respect to Oklahomans, I don't think I'll be going back to that state anytime soon.
Right.
So again, how do we love something, people like that, who see you and see the color of your skin and are ready to attack you? I don't love their behavior or their conditioning. Again, I have to remember, and I choose to remember, that we are one. There's one life, and the God of me is the God of them. That's a bitter pill to swallow sometimes.
It is. It is.
God created me and Hitler. God created me and Idi Amin. God created me and the serial killers.
Right.
Yes. God, we're all one. These abhorrent, behaviors that humans sometimes engage in. Well, no, those are not godlike behaviors, and it comes, I don't even know where it comes from, sense of feeling separate, a sense of not being good enough, conditioning, years and years of conditioning. So especially now, my prayer work is to know the oneness, to know love, to know that in that, like you, I can be in there. It doesn't mean that I won't get angry. It doesn't mean that I won't take action that defends myself or my family or friends or, injustice when I see it. Again, a favorite question of mine is, what is mine to do in my meditation? What is mine to do? What is for me to do? No one of us can do everything.
Right.
However, we all can do something. We all can do something, and this is not the time to fall asleep. We need our white brothers and sisters. We need the alliance. Just as Reverend Michael spoke about it several weeks ago. Back in the day during slavery, we had abolitionists, and a lot of them were white people that said, no, this slavery is a scourge in humanity.
Right.
And their lives, many of them, during World War II, there were many allies that joined our Jewish brothers and sisters and said, no, this is demonic. We're not going to stand for this. We can, I think the work is for all of us to, ask, what is mine to do?
Thank you for that. And I'm hearing balance. I'm hearing, I never really saw it that way. It's better for me to have the reactions that I'm having than not to have a reaction at all. That apathy or helplessness is worse than having righteous indignation that can lead to right action or a peaceful action or a loving action. But I wanted to highlight this. Actually, my head's like going crazy here. So one is, I kept hearing this theme. It's not black and white. It's not black and it is black and white. It's not black and white. And I used to work in valuing diversity. And one of the things that I figured out was one of the biggest challenges with diversity and valuing diversity, like you were saying, all diversity, is it's gray. We don't know how to truly respect people that we don't understand. We don't know how to be value people of difference because we don't have a rule book. We don't have a Bible that says, okay, so this is how you not piss off an Asian. This is how you not piss off a black person. This is how you not, make a white person. And we don't have, and people who are very black and white will say, give me the rules on how to treat you so you're not pissed off. Or give me the term to use. It used to be, what's wrong with that term? It used to be that way, and if it's that important to you, tell me what term it is so I can be right. And you totally missed the whole thing if that's all this is about, being right or wrong. Respect is not right or wrong. It is gray area. We have to go, okay, well, that didn't work. Let's try something different, or that didn't work. And like you were saying, the curious thing, to be open to, well, you know, peaceful protests work. Now, protests that end up in looting and vandalizing, that doesn't work. So how do we, you know, extract what is working out of before we throw the baby out with the bathwater? On you know, same thing with masks, but that's another show. But it's like, how do we be okay in the gray? How do we be okay in the balance and just being open? We don't know. We know that the police systems are not working. Yes. We don't know exactly how we're going to fix them. You know, the funding might be some of it, might not be, but don't react to the whole it's right or wrong, black and white, before we try to have some solution. That's so for me, that's like a huge, you know, let's just take a breath and look for the balance. Look for the, you know, don't fly off the handle. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. So sorry, that really like.
Well, you know, it's I totally agree with everything you've said. You know, and I think part of it, Dr. M, is we're not listening to one another. You know, we're not listening.
What?
Exactly. You're so funny. You know, we're not listening to one another. We all come to the table with our opinions, and you're right, you know, wanting to be right, and not willing to be vulnerable, to go into that vulnerable space of, I don't know, let me be curious, let me find out, and let me be honest about that. You know, let me try to understand you. That's why I love the prayer of St. Francis of Assisi, when he talks about, you know, let me seek to understand rather than to be understood, you know, because when I seek to understand, I am understood, actually, you know, so let me seek to understand your perception, what you're seeing. You know, it's like the elephant in the room. And if people are all situated in different places and are asked to describe the elephant, we're all going to describe it differently. Someone will describe the trunk, someone will describe the tusks, someone will describe the tail. And, you know, and if you hear, you'll be like, no. But then you step back and you see the bigger picture and you're like, oh, we were all standing in different spaces and places, and we saw different perception. We had different perceptions. So let me try, you know, because look, I know cops. I know some incredible cops, you know, and their jobs are very difficult. They are tasked with going into terrible, difficult situations. So we are not, you know, when we say defund the police, you know, it's not about it's really, to me, it's about saying, hey, we've put so much money into militarizing the police systems. Let us take some of that money and really place it in places where they're needed. So for instance, you know, if there's mental health issues, perhaps we don't send the police out, but we send, you know, counselors out, or people that have been specifically social workers that have been specifically trained to deal with trauma. You know, just like when you go to the hospital, there are hospital doctors and nurses that have been trained to deal with trauma. They're in the ER. So they know that everyone coming into the ER, there's heightened emotions, and they've been trained to respond to that. And so let's look at, you know, what we're funding with the police. If you're sending cops out to situations that are already volatile and they're showing up with guns that can trigger people, someone's having a mental breakdown, you come in with a gun, maybe the sight of that gun triggers them even more, you know, and they explode, and you take out your gun and it just doesn't work. You know, we have to be willing to sit at the table with the cops and say, look, your training has been one way. And let's admit it, I was listening to a policeman on NPR, brilliant guy, you know, I think it was in Louisiana. And he said, look, we have to admit our training is biased. It is totally biased. We've been trained, you see black, it's danger. You know, he was admitting it.
Good for him.
Right?
Good for him.
Person, we know that. We know that's your training because we've been at the receiving end of it.
Right.
So
study after study after study after study.
That's right.
Over drivers,
That's right.
The highest percentage. And the truth is, the percent that actually have the drugs are white drivers, not black drivers.
That's right.
Study after study after study. So this is the point. This is one of the most important points. If you're listening and your first reaction is to get defensive, or go to the extreme of fear or worst case scenarios, please hold it open. It's like the same thing around when you see a post, before you share the post, check it before you post. Is it a hoax or is it a fact? And who's the source? And, is there a bigger picture understanding of what's going on before you start reacting?
That's right. The post that I find interesting is when people will post something and say, can you believe this person said that? And maybe it's something really horrific. And I'm like, so why are you reposting it? Why are you sharing this? I don't get it. Again, if I see a post, and for me, the posts that really get me are the ones where people are taking off their clothes, sexual posts that I'm like, really? I bless them and you're out. I'm not going to share it with my friends and say, can you believe this person's doing this? Why?
Right. You just pointed you just validated why they're doing it.
Exactly.
Because they want attention. Absolutely.
Exactly. It's like, on the news when you hear, parents suspected that the babysitter was harming their child, but they wanted to get proof. I'm like, no, you suspect your babysitter is harming your child. Let that babysitter go. Report them if you need to, but please don't wait till they have it on camera. They have now harmed your child. You can see. I don't understand those things. So and we're 8 minutes late for the commercial. So I'm gonna stop us now for a second so we have a little time when we come back. But we're here to thank the sponsor of today's show, and it's me. So we have to do no. Thank you, Dr. M.
God, I love this show. I love you. All right, here we go. Sorry, Tony. I didn't even see you in the chat. And I can't hear the music. There we go. Want to be on a TV pilot? Sign up at www.drmarissa.life to be part of her new show called Turn Yourself On with Dr. Marissa. It's a cross between Jerry Springer and The Oprah Show. Dr. Marissa will be interviewing people in her Zoom audience instead of a guest on stage. And instead of Jerry Springer bringing out the worst in people, she'll be looking for what's right with you and what's right with the world. Episode 2 is being taped Saturday, July 25th at 9 a.m. PT. For details, put TV pilot on the pop-up with your email at drmarissa.life. And we're back. You are tuned into my weekly talk radio TV show syndicated on iHeartRadio, CNBC, NBC, KCAA, broadcasting out of Burbank, California, every Tuesday for the past 430 consecutive weeks. And it's called Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get Happy with Dr. Marissa, a show about hope and happiness. So there's no gossip, no scandal, and no K words, no Kardashian talk. But we do have a lot of Akuyoe Graham talk. And we're talking about black and white. It's not black and white, or is it? And just some practical. I'm really grateful that we continue to not just highlight the issues and the problems. And they're all just opportunities to love even more. That should be our tagline for this show. Every week we have more and more opportunity to practice love, conscious love. So I think I covered most of the moose on my table. The shame, vandalism, hate and more hate, fake news, we did that. Rage against blacks being killed, defense of police. So let me I wanted to mention one thing that happened from last week's show, which was I had a conversation with a friend of mine who's a white woman. And remember I asked you, how could this be okay? George Floyd dying, being killed. How could a friendly universe let this happen? How could we? And she gave me the answer. She said, Before George Floyd, I didn't get it. I did not understand what the big deal was. I did not understand any of this. And once she saw George Floyd being killed, she's like, as a white woman, she said, oh, I get it. And so for that, like Reverend Michael said, it's a sacrifice. George Floyd sacrificed his life. He was sacred, right? Yeah. He made sacred this journey for all of us, right? And that's then when I told her about Dominique, when Curtis's cousin was shot and killed, I told her, and she said, I have chills. My skin hurts for the Black people. Mm-hmm. And it was like, wow, mm-hmm. It's like, it's still not okay, but it really put that punctuation point on why we're going through what we're going now.
Absolutely. I mean, and especially at this time, if it had not been the pandemic, most people would have ignored the news. They wouldn't have wanted to watch the video. It would have been easy to turn it off, go out, and do something else. However, now we're all quarantined, and literally earth, life has stopped us and said, you all need to stop and look at everything. The earth, the way we were continuing was out of balance. You mentioned the word balance, and it's true. We were way off kilter, just in terms of the life we were living, just what we're investing in, and now so many individuals and so many haven't invested resources, their money, their time, their intelligence and wisdom into building up communities and building up people. Everything has been about the bottom line for me. And so yes, George Floyd, his life has turned out to be quite extraordinary. One of my favorite phrases from scripture is, God means everything for good. So we can mess up as much as...
Uh-oh. Your connection is fading a little bit. Can you repeat? Yeah. Just now, I missed that whole last sentence. So in the scripture, it says God, and then we lost you.
Oh, okay. Can you see me?
I can see you. It's just the feed
connection. Okay, how is that?
Perfect.
Is it better? Oh, good. No, I was saying that God means everything for good. So even though George was, killed, assassinated in front of us all, we got to see it. Life has a way of turning everything towards progression and evolution, Yes. So it became this visual point for everyone to look at and see. No one can now deny. The whole world got to see it. And the whole world got to say, oh my goodness, is this what we've become? Have we really become this, killing our own brothers and sisters because of the color of their skin? Is this who I am? So people are asking themselves, and they're saying, no. Young people are saying, no, that's not me. And that's not the world I want, and and we're having to look at everything, the environment, the literal planet on which we stand. The same thing we do to ourselves, we're doing to the planet. We're plundering, we're stealing, we're not taking advantage of, we're taking advantage of rather, we're not taking good care. We're doing the same thing to the actual planet that we're on, so this is the reset button for those who want to, not everybody. Many people are like, I want to get back to the way things were. I've heard a lot of people say that. Yeah. I'm like, are you kidding?
No. I wrote an article about that. Do we really want to go back to normal? No. I don't want to go back to that.
That's right. It was not normal.
No.
So George Floyd's life has been made sacred. The same with Curtis's cousin. Let's take that killing and make it sacred so their lives have not been in vain. Let us dedicate ourselves to all those souls. I still think of, Sandra Bland, who, I just want to close by saying, for those who still don't get it, the systems we have right now means that if a Black person has done something, let's say all these people have done something. George Floyd, they said he wrote a bad check, $20, not even 200, $20. He got the death penalty. Sandra Bland was stopped because the cop said she, didn't stop at a stoplight or a tailgate or some stupid traffic thing. She ended up dead. They said she killed herself. I don't believe that. Nobody does. So again and again and again, Black and brown people, those of us that have been deemed less than, not as valued and not as valuable, if we do anything, we get the death penalty.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Dylan Roof can go into a church, kill 8 or so people, and come out and they take him out for a hamburger.
Yeah, it's bad. It is totally bad. It has to change. It has to change. It's starting to change. It's starting to change. And we're going to continue to hold that watch and to work towards it by love and peace and action. Thank you so much. We're out of time because as we always are. Akuyoe, I love you very much. I don't know if I gave you Dr. Marissa's Beneficial Presence on the Planet Award last time, but no. I'm giving it to you today.
Yay!
So there it is.
I humbly accept.
Good. I'm so glad. All right. We have a couple minutes left and it's welcome to my balance bar. There it is, where I invite you to balance with me. And first of all, I forgot to thank Purple Planet Music for their music that I put my promos to. And if those of you, I don't know if we have time, we can show one video, the one with Berny Dohrmann, to dedicate this show also to him. So
Dr. Marissa is one of my favorite superstars as the Oprah Winfrey, and she's helping you all to get your happy going in the middle of this pandemic.
It is with a very sad heart that I say goodbye for now to Berny Dohrmann, the CEO and chairman of CEO International, one of the largest entrepreneurial universities that he recruited me to be on faculty for.
Yes, this is a moment of...
Dr. Marissa. Dr. Marissa. Oh, Dr. Marissa.
I just got a wonderful compliment and Bernie just heard it and now he's bowing to me. So
Berny Dohrmann just died of the COVID-19 virus. I'll miss you. I love you. Peace in and peace out.
Bernie, I know you're still there. I know you're loving us from the other side with my dad. And thank you for all that you've done. And you've left an amazing legacy. And with his death, I'm hoping that all of you out there will put aside your political fear and your conspiracy theories and wear a mask and spatial, distancing so that we can be welcomed into other countries, number one, and two, stop leaving people, who we love in our wake, because it's time. It's just time. And I miss you, Bernie. And I'm just so grateful that I got to have time with you. And, one of the reasons why I played that too is that I never showed him that video. And I never, he sent that 8-year congratulations. And I thought I had more time and I didn't have time. And so for everyone who, I don't care if you believe that the virus exists or not, please reach out to people who you love, because you just never know. But please, please wear a mask. All right. And let's see what else. I'm going to, I think I invited all of you to the TV pilot. Also, I'm happy to tell you that we're going to have a show with Donna Summer's sister, who sang, not only backup with her, was her little sister. So that's a coming up show. Stay tuned for that. And then finally, we're going to leave this show and then go over to the birthday boy coming up. So I'm going to leave you with a little happy birthday, dear fabulous big brother, most wonderful founder of Agape International Spiritual Center. Happy birthday to you. Join me. I'm going over to Instagram. He's having a conversation with another beautiful person, Verdine White from Do You Remember Earth, Wind, and Fire. He's going to be talking to him on Instagram TV. And then I think that's it. Akuyoe, that I actually put music to the prayer. So, Lord, make me a channel of thy peace. We'll have to do that separate, but I just wanted to do that to tell you that I love that as well. Thank you all for tuning in. Please keep it here. Please share. I'm tired of getting whacked for my views on masks and safety. So share my stuff, Medium articles, lots of different things in order to splatter more hope and happiness. I love you all, and I'm out of time. Peace in, peace out. World peace through inner peace. Dr. Marissa reporting live from the Ocean of Abundance. Have the best week ever.